closer. Come closer. It makes it easier to shoot you. What's your name? Where are you from?
Spain.
Spain? You don't sound very Spanish, Nicole. Come closer. You hold that for me. Don't shoot anyone. Unless they're English. Or I'll tell you to. You got that?
Yeah.
Can I trust you?
Yeah.
Can you shoot your brother?
No, I don't think he'll get that.
No.
Don't worry, he won't shoot. He won't shoot to shoot.
Ladies and gentlemen, just before I start my presentation here in the Half Moon Battery, I do have to give you advance warning. Just as a matter of precaution, or safety if you like, following the castle governance, I'm going to test fire my gun. It is a real gun, it's a matchlock musket. If it works, it's very loud and it's very smelly. Now, if you don't like loud noises, I will give you advance warning. You will hear me give a command in Old Scots language stating, hold your lugs. Hold your lugs simply means cover your ears. Whatever you do, don't stick your fingers in your ears. Don't do that, because your head will explode, you will die. And I'm not cleaning up your mess. When I say you hold your lugs, just cover your ears with this. Open your mouth slightly. That should prevent your brains sliding through your nose. But it's not guaranteed. And you're the best Spanish to hold that today.
Open mouth.
On your lugs.
Go.
It's working. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Half Moon Battery here in Edinburgh Castle. My name is Hugo. I am a soldier of Oliver Cromwell's English Parliamentarian Army that attacked this castle in the year 1650. Now, some of you might immediately recognise that I have a terrible English accent, and you're correct, I do have a terrible English accent, so just use your imagination. 1650, once again, Scotland and England are at war with one another. This will come as no surprise to anybody from both nations. We really can be terrible neighbours when it takes our choosing. However, when we join together, we're usually unstoppable. But when the Scots and the English fight, we fight and we make sure it's a good one. Well, incidentally, anyone here from England? Just two females. We'll try that again. Don't be embarrassed. Put your hands up if you are from England. Yeah, I do that. Well, just keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Where's English people? And where in England are you from, madam?
Near Manchester.
Near Manchester. What's it called?
We actually live in Disley.
I don't know that. I don't know that. I've got family that live near Rochdale in a place called Shaw.
Other way.
Yeah,
other way.
I don't really like them. Where are you from?
Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, jolly good. Where's the other English people? And where are you from?
Manchester.
What part of Manchester are you from?
Botenshaw.
Audenshaw. I know Withenshaw, I don't know that. The other end, other way, is it? Is it near there? Is it Rochdale? Well, my cousins live in Shaw there. They're very good people and all this. Well, you're all welcome here today. 1650, very much a different scenario altogether. What's commonly known as the English Civil War. Of course, in Scotland, you wouldn't fight an English Civil War because it's not England and they're not English. The English Civil War comes about in 1642. Technically speaking, we Scots started the English Civil War. In 1637, the very first shots of what becomes known, commonly known as the English Civil War, were fired near to Aberdeen in the northeast of Scotland. This affected Presbyterians, angry at Charles I, King of Britain and Ireland, and his interference with the Presbyterian Church of Scotland. Nothing happens, so the following year, in 1638, right here in Edinburgh, just a couple of hundred yards away at Greyfriars Church, several thousand Protestants gather, unveiled is what becomes known as the National Covenant of Scotland. This is a protest to Charles, a written protest to Charles. Leave the Church of Scotland alone, or we will rise in arms. 80% of Scottish Presbyterians signed it within 6 months. It was sent to Charles. Charles simply ignores it. In England at the same time, people are starting to rise against the king, but when Cromwell takes the Parliament in 42, the two armies of the Covenant and the Parliament join together against the common enemy, Charles I, King of Britain and Ireland. Now, initially, things didn't go too well, but the Scots did join up with the Cromwellians, and eventually, in 46, the king surrenders at Newark, near to Nottingham. He surrenders to the Scottish army for the simple reason Charles I is a Scot himself. He was born in Dunfermline, right across the River Forth there, in the ancient capital. You can still visit his birthplace to this day, very pretty, blah, 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 blah. But, of course, he gives in to the demands of the Presbyterians, expects to be released into exile in Catholic France, but instead, Oliver Cromwell's parliamentarians take the king hostage. Charles I is under house arrest for around about 2.5 years, and on the last day of January 1649 at Whitehall in London, Charles I was taken onto the streets and beheaded by the executioner's axe. Cromwell immediately declares that Britain is now a republic and a commonwealth, and the monarchy is now abolished. Now, the news takes 3 days to reach Scotland, and immediately the Scottish nation declare his son, Charles II, King of the Scots. The reason being is this: the Scots army never ever called for the execution of the king. The Scots army never called for the abolition of monarchy. So Cromwell sees this act of naming his son, Charles II, an act of war. If Cromwell hadn't been busy murdering innocent Catholics in Ireland, he would have been in Scotland a lot quicker than the following year. When he comes to Edinburgh, the Scottish army stop him getting foot onto the soil from the harbour at Leith. Instead, the Scots do something stupid. They follow Cromwell's ships as it sails down the River Forth, and Cromwell disembarks his men and starts to make a march back towards the castle here. Small town of Dunbar, 25 miles away, 3rd of September, the two armies meet once again. Scotland and England poised to do battle. This time, the Scots have gotten there first. The Scots are on the high ground. The Cromwellians have no choice but to remain in the boggy, marshy low ground. This, of course, looks set to be Scotland's easiest ever victory over the English, with the exception of Wembley in 1967, of course. The Scots are in the high ground, the English in the low ground. All the Scots need to do is wait. Cromwell's army are on the verge of starvation. But the Scots, of course, fall for the oldest trick in military history. Cromwell withdraws his army from the field of combat, pretending to be retreating. The Scots give up the high ground almost to a man, run down the hill in complete disorder, not so much to fight with the English, but to attack their baggage trains and steal goods from the English. So it wasn't really about a fight. Cromwell, of course, has got several battalions in good order, and they cut the Scots down. In under 4 hours, 400 Scotsmen dead, 2,500 taken prisoner down to Durham in the northeast. It really was an embarrassing defeat for the Scots. All they had to do was stay atop the high ground. Now, the clothing, the armour, the uniform I'm wearing today is from that time, and it's no different between the Scots and the English. There's not much difference in the way they dress and the way they fight. The real differences between the Scottish and the English soldiers, regional accents, and as an Englishman, I have to say the Scots are more handsome. That is the only two real differences. It is a technological age, it's very noisy, but you'll notice in my left hand I carry a weapon, and 1650 has been kicking around for at least 400 years. This is known as a halberd. The halberd is carried by uneducated, unskilled manual labourers. But you don't need to be clever to carry and poke someone in the face with a stick like this. The halberd, of course, used to be used for chopping hedges, but by adding a pike, it becomes an incredible weapon of war. By 1650, it's very old-fashioned, but when carried by a sergeant, it serves a very important role. 17th century battlefields are perhaps the noisiest battlefields today. It's an age of powder, it's an age of bullets, it's an age of bombs, an age of cannons. This here, believe it or not, although I can use it to kill someone, is used as a signifier. Because it's so noisy in the field of combat, sergeants would use these to give commands without even talking. If you watch the Scottish pipe bands, you'll notice at the front of the pipe band, you will have a drum major. The drum major carries today a mace, not a halberd, and you will notice he moves it about in different directions. Every time he moves his mace, he is given a silent command to the pipe band behind him. That mace is an antecedent of the halberd in the battlefield, so it's just taken a musical slant, but it is still very military. Now the halberdiers, as I said, not very clever. My job is a wee bit more versatile and technical. And perhaps one of the elite soldiers of this time, one of the most technical soldiers, and I would say multi-purpose. My job is that of a musketeer. Now, unfortunately, today, when people think of musketeers, they think of the Three Musketeers. I'm sure you're familiar with the French Three Musketeers. Huge floppy hats, outrageous ostrich plumes sticking from their heads, and they wear silk tabards with a big white cross in their chest. Now here's the reality. If you were to walk around a Scottish battlefield with a big white cross in your chest, you're simply asking, shoot me here please. If you did dress like the Three Musketeers on a Scottish battlefield, your own troops would kill you, never mind the enemy. Incredibly, the Three Musketeers really did dress in that fashion. They were ceremonial guards to the kings, queens and cardinals of France before they became a republic. Those musketeers did jump about like peacocks on the battlefield. Real musketeers dress like me. Real musketeers smell like me. Real musketeers shoot muskets. That's why we're called musketeers. 1650, this musket here is the height of technology. This is called a matchlock musket. It's called a matchlock. Carry my fingers here. A piece of head rope that's been boiled in saltpetre, and when it's dry, you light it and it burns slowly like a cigar. This is called your match. The lock part of matchlock, the trigger mechanism, designed, believe it or not, from old medieval door locks. Now I'm going to load the gun up stage by stage and fire it once again. Incidentally, is anyone here from the United States? Anyone from what is now America? Who's all Americans? Put your hands up. And where in the States are you from? Minnesota, home of the Vikings, yeah. California, Indiana, Texas, Chicago, jolly good.
New York.
New York, right, I've been... Indiana. Oh, do you know them? Do you know them? No? I know it's not that big.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, home of the Deutsch.
Massachusetts.
Oh.
We're the ones.
Yeah, you're the bloody rebels. Utah. Right, okay, I don't have any problem apart from you, Massachusetts people. Revolution. It's a rebellion, sir. Being a perfectly good country, I don't see why you should have it for yourself. 1777 Boston Tea Party. Boston Massacre, come on, 5 dead. That's a snowball fight with Alan. Right, now, particularly the East Coast, Massachusetts, right up above you, right up into the eastern provinces of Canada, right down to the Virginias. This is the gun that actually did colonise what is now the United States. This is the gun that captured the eastern seaboard of the United States for Britain, from round about 1580 right up until you wanted it for yourselves. This is the gun that took it. You used to work for us. We work for you now, of course. So we're going to load the gun up, step by step, and fire it. Again, if you don't like mouth noises, when you hear me give the shout of hodge and lugs, cover your ears, don't stick your fingers in, because you probably will die. Now, to load the gun up, first thing the Musketeer does is he opens this part here. This is called a flash pan. If you've ever heard the expression, a flash in the pan, the way today we describe like reality TV stars, one-hit wonder pop star, hopefully Justin Bieber, a flash in the pan. Hopefully it's not around for too long. Origins of that expression from the flash pan of the musket. The reason being is you load powder here, you load powder in the muzzle. Sometimes if there's a blockage in the muzzle, the powder here will flash without shooting the gun. And all you do is you get a great amount of smoke, but it doesn't do anything. Hence the expression, a flash in the pan. You open up your flash pan, you take your powder horn, and you pour a chant of powder into the flash pan, like so. Much of the powder will fall in through a small aperture into the muzzle of the gun. Close the lid over, toss away the excess, cast around your musket. You will then take, in this instance, 2 charges directly down the muzzle. It's not a rifle, they haven't been invented at this time. Directly down, should fall to the bottom to meet the powder from the flash pan. You will then take what we call wadding. Wadding, because it's not a shell case, you need something to create a seal from the powder but behind the bullet. They would then use wadding, which is either made of paper, sometimes dried grass, it can even be made of cloth, sometimes even dried earth, if you like, compacted earth. Put it down. You will then take a lead bullet, the exact same as this one here. The lead bullet, very easy to make in plier molds, very simple to make. And the soldier puts it down the muzzle. Not going to do that today. Edinburgh Castle don't let's kill tourists anymore, but it will go down the muzzle. But if it doesn't fit down the muzzle of the gun, the soldier hasn't snipped off the excess lead from the mould. The soldier has to act quickly. He'll either try and just bite through it or crush it into shape with his teeth. Now this is thought to be the origins of the expression to bite the bullet. When you bite the bullet, you have to do something quickly, and it's never nice, it's always, of course, a pain. To bite the bullet, this is thought to be the origins of that expression. Of course, it's lead. If it's been rolling about gunpowder, it tastes disgusting, so you're biting the bullet. Incidentally, another expression that we use here in the British Isles, I'm not sure about worldwide, couldn't care less either, but here in the British Isles, there's an expression that women usually keep exclusively for their husbands. This excess lead is called a git. When it's snipped off, you call it a useless git. So once it's off, down the muzzle it goes. You will then take what we call your scouring stick. It's not a ramrod. Scouring stick, down the muzzle, and you just simply tamp home the charge until you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Now I'm sure you ladies, the occasional Friday night, have scraped the bottom of the barrel after leaving the pub. Scraping the bottom of the barrel, pull it back out, you can see it's filthy. Put this back in its keeper. Don't be tempted to shoot someone with a stick. It would be hilarious if you needed to reload the gun. 20 minutes after you start, you're nearly ready to shoot your opponent. You present your piece, you'd make ready, hodge your logs, then fire. Now, that noise, that smoke, if you can smell the smoke, don't be afraid of it, it won't do you any harm. In fact, it'll do you some good. That smoke, that smell, is, in all reality, the closest we can get, along with the sound, to the 17th century battlefield. That smoke doesn't smell any different from what it did 400 years ago. Since gunpowder was first composed, it hasn't changed much in the actual way that it smells and the way it operates. The noise is the noise of the 17th century. We haven't done anything to the guns to make them louder. We have made these guns that have been replicated the exact same as existing's original examples. That noise, that smell, that sight is the 17th century. Bad thing about the musket, as you probably noticed, it can take a wee while to reload. A good musketeer can do 2, maybe even 3 shots in a minute, but your enemy could fall upon you before you get a chance to reload, Scots or English. Now, what makes me versatile, I was boasting about earlier, not only would we shoot you with a gun, but if you hear the command of club, you turn your gun upside down and you use it as nothing more than a big stick. On the end of the gun there, it's been reinforced with a steel band. Can you see that, madam? See it? Now that would be used to smash your opponent in the face, but you're too pretty for that. But you have no chance. On the face, onto the head, no offence, sir. So we can shoot you and we can dump you. And now, incredibly, just around this time, something the British Army have not been without to this very day since then. From Bayonne in France, something that revolutionises warfare. If your sergeant gives the command to plug, you would remove your bayonet from Bayonne in France, and you would plug this in the end of your gun. We can now shoot you, thump you, and we can now stab you, just like the halberds or the pikes. Now, of course, it has been pointed out on several occasions, but you can't fire the gun now. You're correct. It would be stupid to fire the gun with this in it. However, what I can tell you is this. Gunpowder costs money. To stab someone does not. This will always be more popular in Scotland. Now, when Cromwell defeats the Scots, it really was a terrible embarrassment. It was worse than Flodden. It was a terrible embarrassment. The Scots quite literally snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. All they had to do was wait atop Doonhill Combat. Cromwell makes his way here to Edinburgh Castle. You are now standing on the very spot that most of the defence was done of this castle. You're facing the same wall the Scottish defenders faced as Cromwell was out in what is now the esplanade where they're pulling down the tattoo stands. You are really standing